part will be Brother Dirk and Jim Marshall, first return visit again.
Wow, that was a really good lunch, huh?
Yeah, the cafeteria here really improved the quality of the food.
Yeah, I think so too. How was your 3-day weekend?
It was the usual. It was just too short. It was nice getting together with the family and enjoying dinner and having some good laughs. And so, but how was your memorial event? I know that big storm blew through on Friday night.
It was wonderful, and actually, thanks for asking. And surprisingly, even though the weather was like that, we had well over 300 people in attendance. And, that actually reminds me, one of the other lunches we had together, we discovered that Jesus was God's son from that scripture you read, Matthew 16, verse 16. And that led us to a follow-up question, why did Jesus die? Why do you think Jesus died?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I think that maybe that we all have the opportunity to go to heaven.
Many people feel the same way. I always keep my Bible here on my phone, and I'd like to share a scripture with you from Matthew chapter 20, verse 28. And if you'd be kind enough to read that for us.
Sure. It says, just as the Son of Man came not to be ministered to, but to minister, and to give his life as a ransom in exchange for many.
Thank you for reading that. So notice what it says there. It says at the bottom, at the end of the verse, why did Jesus die?
It says as a ransom in exchange for many.
Correct. So if he gave his life as a ransom, what do you think he was buying us back? What was he paying for on our behalf? So I'd like to share this 3-minute video with you entitled, Why Study the Bible? And then as we're watching it, try to pick up things that affect all of us in mankind, anywhere you live. So here, let me play that for you. Okay, so from the video, what issues stood out to you that affect all of us?
I think many things mentioned in the video apply, but I'd have to say sickness and death.
Right, very true. No matter where you live, that affects you. So why do we die? That's one of many questions that the Bible does answer. So in order to get that answer, let's turn to Romans chapter 5, verse 12, and I'll read that for us. That's Romans chapter 5, verse 12. And this reads, that is why, just through one man, Adam, sin entered into the world, and death through sin. And so death spread to all men because they had all sinned. So what the scripture is saying is Adam was put on this earth as a perfect human being in the Garden of Eden, and he had an opportunity to have perfect children. But before he did so, he ended up disobeying God, which introduced sin and death. So, of course, from that point onward, any children that he had, they would inherit this flaw of sin and death. So another easy way to illustrate it is if you have a scale, one that you have to balance out. So on one side, you put Adam now with this sinful state with death. So boom, he tips the scale, right? So now if you put Jesus on the other side of the scale, can you guess what he was buying us back from?
Yeah, it's pretty clear that to balance out the scale, Jesus was buying us back from sin and death.
Correct. So him coming to earth, living a perfect life and obeying his Father, balances out the scale. Actually, I see our colleagues going back to work. But perhaps one of these other lunch breaks, we can consider how can we show appreciation for this ransom sacrifice that Jesus gave. And I'd like to do the same, just show you from the scriptures on how we can do so.
Sounds good.